The black market of Nexus Station buzzed with noise. Aliens of every shape and size shouted, bargained, and sometimes threatened one another. The air smelled of burnt oil, spice, and recycled air. Metal clanged under heavy boots. Dylan Lynch wiped sweat from his forehead. A streak of grease smudged across his face. His military surplus pants were torn at the knees. His gray tank top stuck to his skin, soaked in grime from the long day. Dylan had once been respected, known as the best mechanic on Astrostation. People paid for his skills, and he had a small, comfortable room to call his own. But 2 years ago, the Relian plague hit. Most of the station's population died. When the quarantine lifted, the economy collapsed. Dylan was ruined. Accused of smuggling medical supplies he didn't even touch, his reputation was destroyed. Now, he drifted from station to station, scavenging what he could, barely earning enough to survive. He kicked a discarded fuel cell as it skittered across the deck. 3 junkyards. And not a single compatible coupling, he muttered. His small blaster, long broken, hung from his belt like a reminder of better days. A booming, growly voice echoed over the market's loudspeakers. Last call for rare merchandise. Final offers in Section 12. Normally, Dylan would have ignored it. He didn't have the money for rare items anyway. But Section 12 was on his way back to the docking bay. Curiosity pulled him forward. The closer he got, the quieter the market became. The crowd thinned. The goods in this area were illegal, dangerous, or both. And the buyers were no better. Dylan stepped around a group of seer warriors, haggling over a weapon. A slithering Naga trader hissed past him, eyes gleaming. Then he saw them. 4 small figures stood on a cracked platform. Their delicate azure skin peeked from the sleeves and hems of coarse dresses. Their heads were hidden under crude paper bags. They didn't move, didn't protest, except for tiny, trembling hands that clutched each other. An old alien with pale pink skin leaned forward. His face sagged with age, his chin loose and jiggly. His pupilless eyes scanned the crowd coldly. Bidding starts at 2,000 credits for the pair of your choice, he announced. Dylan's stomach twisted. Cheruans, a rare, intelligent, and empathic species, were being sold like cargo. Their world had been destroyed in the Galactic War. They had survived barely. And now they were for sale. A hulking, gray-skinned alien called out, offering 2,200 credits for the tallest 2. Dylan took a step back. This wasn't his problem. He didn't have the money, and he barely had a home. He should walk away, but then he heard a soft sob, muffled, coming from beneath one of the paper bags. His feet froze. One small hand reached out, grasping the hand of another. The pink-skinned trader sneered. Sisters must be separated. More profit that way. Final call. 3,000 credits for the tallest 2. Dylan felt something snap inside him. He had nothing, but he couldn't leave. Not this time. 3,500. He shouted. His voice was steady, though his heart pounded like a drum. The trader's eyes narrowed. For which pair, human? He hissed, disdain dripping from every word. All 4 of them, Dylan said. The crowd murmured. The trader laughed, a sound harsh as grinding metal. You cannot afford that. The price is 6,000 minimum. Dylan swallowed hard. He pulled out his small credit chip. Everything he had saved for 3 months of scavenging was on it. Take it or leave it, he said. I can report a sentient trafficking violation if you refuse. The trader's face flickered with uncertainty. After a long moment, he snatched the chip, checked the balance, and spat out, Take them. And watch your back, human. You've made an enemy today. Dylan approached the platform, heart hammering. The girls were still trembling. He gently removed the paper bags. 4 pairs of shimmering silver eyes stared at him, fearful and confused. The tallest girl whispered, "Why? Why are you helping us?" Dylan didn't know how to answer. He had no plan, no way to feed them, no ship ready. He only knew this. He could not leave them here. "Because nobody else would," he said simply. "I'm Dylan," he added. The girl hesitated. "I'm Linda," she said softly. "These are my sisters, Arda, Nova, and Celeste." As Dylan led them away, he could feel the gaze of the pink-skinned trader and the gray-skinned bidder following them. Dangerous enemies. No money. No plan. 4 vulnerable children depending on him. And yet, for the first time in a long while, Dylan felt alive. Something had changed. Something unexpected had begun. Dylan moved quickly through the crowded corridors of Nexus Station, the 4 cerulean sisters clinging to him. Linda, the oldest, held her sister's hands tightly, her silver eyes wide with fear and confusion. Celeste, the smallest, stumbled repeatedly, and Dylan scooped her up into his arms. "Are we going to your home?" she asked, her voice trembling. Dylan swallowed. His home was a tiny salvage shuttle barely big enough for himself, let alone 4 children. "Something like that," he replied. The truth was messy and uncertain. He had no credits, no plan, and no real way to get them safely off the station. The market behind them buzzed with oblivious traders, but danger lurked closer than Dylan dared to hope. He spotted 2 gray-skinned enforcers, moving through the crowd like predators. Their eyes scanned every passerby, every shadow. Morton's men were already on their trail. He pressed the girls into a narrow maintenance passage. "Stay quiet," he whispered, keeping his voice low. "We need to take the long way around." Dylan had once known every corridor, maintenance shaft, and shortcut on this station. He used this knowledge to guide them through dimly lit tunnels smelling of coolant and machine oil. Every corner might hide an ambush. Every shadow might conceal death. Arda whispered, "I'm scared." "Being brave doesn't mean not being scared," Dylan said gently. "It means doing what's right, even when you are afraid." They rounded a corner and nearly collided with someone. Strong hands steadied Dylan. He looked up and froze. Before him stood a stunning woman, unlike any alien he had ever seen. Her skin glowed silver in the dim lights. Long white hair framed a face sharp and elegant, her violet eyes filled with surprise. "Cheruans?" She breathed. Dylan's first instinct was caution. "I bought them. To keep them together," he said defensively. The woman knelt to the girl's level. "I am Celine. I'm Lunari. My people were allies with the Cheruans before. Morton has been hunting them." Her gaze hardened. "You're being followed. He won't take losing them lightly." Dylan hesitated. He had learned long ago to trust no one. But he felt the small weight of Celeste in his arms, the trembling of the others, and something inside him softened. "Lead the way," he said. Celine moved with graceful precision, guiding them through passages Dylan didn't recognize. At one junction, she pressed her palm against a wall. It slid open to reveal a hidden doorway. "Diplomatic shortcuts," she said with a faint smile. "Perks of the job." Dylan followed cautiously, still unsure if this was a trap. But the girl's trust made the choice simple. They entered the diplomatic sector, a sharp contrast to the filthy market. Clean walls, soft lighting, and hydroponic plants filled the area. Security drones patrolled silently. It felt like another world. At a private docking bay, Celine revealed her ship, the Star Dancer. Sleek, fast, and elegant, it gleamed under the lights. "Not the largest, but the fastest ship in 3 sectors," she said proudly. Dylan stepped inside. The girls huddled together in a cabin equipped for their comfort. Food replicators had been programmed for cerulean dietary needs. Dylan exhaled, feeling a momentary relief. They were safe for now. In the cockpit, Dylan asked bluntly, "Why are you helping us?" Celine's violet eyes met his. The Lunari and Sharuans share ancestral bonds. When the Sharuans' world was destroyed, my people tried to help, but many refugees fell into Morton's hands. I have made it my mission to find them. Dylan nodded, impressed but still wary. "Noble cause," he said. "And you," she countered sharply, "spent everything to save them." "Most humans wouldn't." "Most humans aren't me," Dylan said with a small, proud smile. The Star Dancer disengaged from the docking clamps, gliding silently into space. But the warning lights chimed almost immediately. Celine's face hardened. "We have company," she said, checking the sensors. Dylan joined her. On the radar appeared a Krell Hunter-class vessel, military-grade and fast. "How did Morton get this?" Dylan asked, astonished. "Morton isn't just any slaver," Celine replied grimly. "He has connections, and his enforcer, Drax, never fails." The Star Dancer jolted as warning shots exploded around them. Dylan braced himself, gripping the controls. Celine's hands flew over the console, guiding evasive maneuvers. "Take the girls to safety," Dylan ordered himself, while calculating every move. He was fast, precise, and fearless survival had trained him well. Together, human and alien, they dodged debris and enemy fire. Even Celeste, clinging to him, seemed to sense the tension. A warmth ran from her tiny body into his mind. Something strange, a bond, was forming. He had never felt anything like it. Finally, after threading through the danger, Selene announced, "They're breaking off pursuit." "Your strategy worked." Dylan allowed himself a small smile. The girls were safe for now. But the chase had shown him one thing. Morton would not stop. And neither could they. The unexpected had happened. Dylan had saved lives, made enemies, and found an ally. And the real adventure was only beginning. The Star Dancer cut through the blackness of space, silent and swift. Dylan stood at the viewport, watching stars streak past like silver ribbons. The four Cerulean sisters huddled together in the cabin, still trembling from their narrow escape. Celeste clutched Dylan's arm, her small body radiating a warmth he couldn't explain. "This is beautiful," Dylan muttered, more to himself than anyone else. Celine, seated at the controls, glanced at him with a small smile. "Space has a way of putting things into perspective," she said. Her violet eyes flicked to the girls. "And reminding you how fragile life can be." Dylan nodded, but his mind was already running through problems. No credits, no supplies, 4 vulnerable children, and a vengeful slaver hunting them. The Star Dancer might be fast, but even Celine admitted the Krell Hunter-class vessel could catch them if they weren't careful. He moved to the cockpit, kneeling beside her. "We can't outrun them forever," he said. "We need another plan." Celine studied the radar. "There's an asteroid field nearby. Dense enough to hide us, but dangerous to navigate." Dylan smiled faintly. "I've navigated worse in ships, half as good as yours." Celine raised an eyebrow, but relinquished control. Dylan took the helm. His hands moved instinctively, guiding the Star Dancer through massive rocks, dodging floating debris, and using the larger asteroids as shields. Every move had to be precise. One mistake could tear the ship apart. In the cabin, the girls clutched each other tightly. Celeste pressed her head against Dylan's chest. He could feel her emotions: fear, relief, trust, all flowing into him. A strange bond formed between them, one he had never felt with another species. "Linda," Dylan called softly, "stay close to your sisters. No matter what happens, hold their hands." Linda nodded, her eyes reflecting starlight. "We trust you, Dylan." she whispered. The asteroid field grew denser. Warning lights blinked as the pursuing vessel fired warning shots, exploding against nearby rocks. Dylan threaded the Star Dancer through narrow gaps, leaning on his mechanic's instincts. Each shot that missed sent shards of rock spinning dangerously close. Celine, holding tightly to the console, glanced at him with admiration. "You pilot like you were born to it," she said. "Necessity," Dylan replied, not taking his eyes off the viewport. "When you spend your life scavenging in the belt, you learn fast or you die fast." The Krell vessel pursued relentlessly. Drax, Morton's enforcer, piloted with precision, but Dylan's knowledge of space hazards gave them an edge. He diverted power to shields, shut down non-essential systems, and let the ship glide silently through the rocks. A sudden jolt threw Celine against him. Their eyes met briefly. Electricity ran between them, momentary, charged but undeniable. Dylan shook his head, focusing. This wasn't the time. Not yet. Hours or maybe minutes, Dylan wasn't sure, past intense silence. Finally, Celine announced, "They're breaking off pursuit." Your plan worked. Relief flooded Dylan. The girls were safe, and the Krell vessel was retreating. In the cabin, Celeste hugged Dylan tightly. He could feel the bond strengthening, a mix of fear, admiration, and trust. I like you," she said softly, almost to herself. Dylan smiled, touched but also wary. Cross-species empathic bonding was rare, almost sacred among the Sharuans. Yet here it was, forming around him. Celine adjusted their course. "We need to put distance between us before they regroup." Dylan leaned against the console, breathing heavily. The adrenaline was fading, leaving him exhausted but strangely alive. He glanced at the girls' cabin, where they were beginning to relax, huddled together like a small family. "Where are we headed?" he asked. "Somewhere safe," Celine replied. "We'll hide there, plan our next move." Dylan nodded, realizing that for the first time in years, he wasn't alone. He had all eyes, a mission, and 4 innocent lives depending on him. As the Star Dancer sliced through the void, Dylan caught himself staring at Celine. Her silver skin shimmered in the starlight, her violet eyes intense. There was something unspoken between them, a connection that went beyond words. He shook his head. Focus, he told himself. The girls came first, but even as they moved further into space, Dylan knew the danger wasn't over. Morton would not stop. Drax would keep hunting. And the galaxy was a dangerous place for a lone human protecting 4 alien children. Yet, despite the fear, despite the uncertainty, Dylan felt something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. He was no longer just surviving. He was fighting for lives that could not protect themselves. He was taking a gamble that could cost him everything. And for the first time, he didn't care, because some gambles were worth it. The Star Dancer drifted through the outer edges of the Veil Nebula, a swirling cloud of gas and starlight that painted space in violet, blue, and silver hues. Dylan stood at the viewport, watching the colors shift, feeling a rare sense of calm. The asteroid field was behind them, and for the first time in hours, the girls were safe, at least temporarily. In the cabin, the 4 cerulean sisters explored their small quarters with cautious curiosity. Celeste pressed a tiny hand against the smooth wall, her wide silver eyes reflecting the soft glow of the lights. "It's pretty," she whispered. Linda, still holding her sisters close, asked, "Where exactly are we going?" "Somewhere no one will find us," Dylan said, adjusting the navigation controls. "Someplace hidden. We need a safe spot to rest and figure out our next move." Celine's voice came from the cockpit. "I know a station that's off most trade routes. Diplomatic immunity keeps it protected. Few know about it, and fewer dare enter." Dylan nodded, trusting her judgment. He had spent his life on the fringes, scavenging, surviving, but never had he experienced this kind of guidance, this kind of support. And yet, the feeling of relief was tempered by the knowledge that Morton's reach was long, and Drax would not give up easily. As they approached the hidden station, Dylan's stomach tightened. The entrance was narrow, nearly invisible, hidden behind a field of dense asteroid debris and energy distortions. Any wrong move could alert Morton's trackers. Celine guided the Star Dancer with precision. "Keep steady. One miscalculation, and we'll be sitting ducks." Dylan's hands moved automatically over the controls, a mechanic's instincts in harmony with the ship. The Star Dancer glided between asteroids, dodging energy fluctuations, and finally slipped into the station's docking bay, unseen by anyone outside. Inside, the station was quiet, almost eerily so. Clean, well-lit corridors stretched ahead, lined with plants and hydroponic pods. Security drones floated silently, scanning for threats. Dylan felt a small measure of relief. They were truly safe for now. The girls huddled together in their cabin, exhausted from the chase. Dylan set Celeste down gently. "Rest, you're safe here." Celeste looked up at him, her silver eyes glimmering. "Thank you, Dylan." Linda stepped forward, her older sister instincts protective. "How did you... Why did you save us?" Dylan paused. He didn't have a perfect answer. He had no plan, no expectation of reward. He only knew that leaving them behind was unthinkable. "Because nobody else would," he said finally. "And someone had to." For a moment, silence fell over the room. The gravity of his words settled in. The girls clung to each other, trusting him with a vulnerability that left Dylan both proud and nervous. Celine entered, her movements graceful, her silver skin catching the station lights. "They're bonded to you," she said softly. Empathically. Cheruans only form bonds with their own species, or with someone truly remarkable. Dylan raised an eyebrow, unsure how to respond. "Remarkable, huh?" Celine smiled faintly, but the sound of a warning alarm interrupted the moment. Red lights flashed, echoing down the corridors. "What now?" Dylan asked, immediately alert. "What now?" Dylan asked, immediately alert. Celine's eyes narrowed. Scanners picked up a small fleet entering the sector. "They're cautious, likely sent by Morton to track us. We're not completely safe yet." Dylan's heart sank. He had hoped the station would be a sanctuary, but danger had followed them even here. He moved to the viewport, analyzing the fleet. 5 ships, sleek, dark, moving silently but deliberately. Morton had underestimated him, but he had not stopped trying. "We need a plan," Dylan said. "We can't just hide forever." Celine nodded. "We'll keep them at bay as long as possible. But we may need to leave the station quickly if they detect us. I suggest preparing for immediate departure. I can navigate us through uncharted regions, but it will be risky." Dylan's mind raced. The girls needed safety, food, shelter, but their enemies were relentless. And yet, he felt something stirring inside him, a determination stronger than fear. He had survived countless dangers before, but now it was different. This wasn't just about him. This was about protecting lives that depended entirely on him. He went to the girls' cabin and knelt beside them. "Listen carefully," he said. "If anything happens, you follow me and Celine. Stay together. Trust me, and you'll be safe." The girls nodded solemnly. Each one looked at him with eyes filled with trust and hope. Dylan felt a swell of pride and fear. They were vulnerable, innocent, but he would fight to protect them, no matter the cost. Later, he returned to the cockpit. Celine was monitoring the fleet, her hands flying over holographic controls. Dylan stood beside her, a sense of calm determination settling over him. "We'll get through this," he said quietly. Celine glanced at him, her violet eyes intense. I believe that, Dylan. You're not just surviving, you're changing everything for them. For the first time in weeks, Dylan allowed himself a small smile. The Star Dancer hummed softly, gliding through the hidden station. They were safe for now, but the galaxy was far from done testing them, and Dylan knew, deep down, that the real journey was just beginning. The silence of the hidden station didn't last long. The lights dimmed slightly, and the hum of the air recyclers seemed to falter, as if the entire place was holding its breath. Dylan stood at the viewport, watching faint flashes in the distance, the unmistakable glint of approaching ships. Celine's voice came quietly from the control room. "They've found us." Dylan turned sharply. "How?" "Morton must have traced the Star Dancer's hyperspace trail," Celine replied grimly. "They're good. Too good. And leading them, it has to be Drax." Drax. The name sent a chill down Dylan's spine. He had heard stories. A massive alien with skin like obsidian, and a reputation for breaking entire crews single-handedly. Morton's right hand. A hunter who never failed. Dylan clenched his fists. "Then we'd better make sure he fails today." Celine gave a short, tense nod. "The station has defenses, but they weren't built for combat. We'll have to fight smart." He looked toward the cabin, where the 4 cerulean sisters slept, unaware of the danger closing in. Their breathing was soft, their faces peaceful, a sight that steadied Dylan's heart. "I'll do whatever it takes to keep them safe," he whispered. Moments later, the Star Dancer systems came alive. Dylan and Celine worked side by side, rerouting power to shields, activating drone decoys, and sealing non-essential sectors of the station. Every sound, the hum of the ship, the whine of engines, the soft clicks of controls, built a tension that filled the air like static before a storm. Celine studied the radar. 4 ships incoming. 2 light escorts, 1 heavy carrier, and... She paused, her voice tight. 1 Hunter-class ship? That'll be Drax. Dylan's jaw tightened. "Then that's our target." She looked at him, half in disbelief. "You can't be serious. You can't take on a Hunter-class vessel with this ship." "I'm not planning to win a war," Dylan said, eyes hard. "I just need to buy enough time to get the girls out." Celine stared at him for a long second, then nodded. "Then we fight together." As the enemy ships entered range, the blackness of space erupted with streaks of plasma fire. The Star Dancer darted through the barrage like a silver arrow, its engines screaming against the vacuum. Dylan's hands moved with calm precision, weaving through attacks that would have shredded a lesser pilot. Celine fired countermeasures, guiding missile decoys into the debris field. Explosions lit up the nebula like dying stars. "They're focusing fire on us?" She shouted. "Good," Dylan replied, grinning grimly. "Means they're not shooting at the station." The heavy carrier launched drones, dozens of them, dark metallic spheres armed with plasma lances. The Star Dancer spun through the swarm, laser turrets flashing. Dylan's focus narrowed to a single point: survive, protect, endure. A drone clipped the hull, shaking the ship violently. Sparks burst across the console. Celeste's frightened cry came from the back cabin. Dylan's heart clenched, but he didn't falter. "Hold on." He yelled, rerouting power. "I'm not letting them near you." Celine's violet eyes darted over her readings. "Shields at 60%. We can't keep this up much longer." "Then we change the game," Dylan said, switching to manual control. He dove toward the asteroid field below, the same one they'd escaped through earlier. "If Drax wants a hunt, I'll give him one." The ship screamed through narrow tunnels of rock and ice. Plasma fire followed them, lighting the shadows in deadly flashes. The Krell Hunter-class ship moved after them, silent and relentless. On the Star Dancer, Dylan's expression hardened. "He's good," he muttered. Celine gave a sharp nod. "Too good. We need to lose him." Dylan smirked. Who said anything about losing him? He accelerated, flying dangerously close to a massive rotating asteroid. The hunter ship followed, matching every move. At the last moment, Dylan cut the engines, letting the Star Dancer drift under the asteroid's shadow. The pursuing ship fired too early. Its shots hit the rock instead, triggering a massive explosion. Chunks of debris scattered in all directions. Dylan reignited the engines, blasting upward through the chaos. Now, Celine fired a full volley into the debris field. The explosion created a blinding flash, and for a moment, the hunter's sensors went dark. The radar cleared. Silence. Celine exhaled, almost disbelieving. He's gone? Dylan didn't relax. No, just waiting. He was right. A deep voice crackled through the coms, low and cold. Impressive, human. You fly like a predator, not prey. Celine froze. It's Drax. Dylan leaned forward, speaking calmly into the com. You talk too much for a hunter. A chuckle echoed back. Perhaps, but I always claim my quarry. You have what belongs to Morton. The sisters. Hand them over, and I might let you live. Dylan's voice hardened. They don't belong to anyone. Then you will die with them, Drax said simply. The signal cut. Celine turned toward Dylan. He'll come himself next time. Dylan looked toward the sleeping sisters, then back at the stars. Good, he said softly, because this time I'll be ready. The Star Dancer drifted in silence, hidden among the swirling clouds of the Veil Nebula. Dylan stood at the viewport, staring into the dark expanse, his hands clenched on the console. The girls slept in their cabin, unaware of the storm that was closing in. But Dylan knew Drax would return, and this time he would come himself. Celine sat beside him, her fingers flying over the controls. We don't have much time, she said. Drax will find us eventually. We need to move before he regroups. Dylan shook his head. No, we stop him here. We can't run anymore. Not while the girls are at risk. Celine's violet eyes widened. You're serious? I've spent my life surviving, Dylan said quietly. But this is different. This is about protecting lives that matter. Celine studied him, seeing the fire in his eyes. For the first time, she didn't argue. She nodded. Then we fight. Outside the viewport, a dark shape moved through the nebula, massive, silent, unstoppable. Drax's ship emerged from the shadows, its black hull reflecting the faint glow of the gas clouds. The Hunter-class vessel loomed over them, a predator ready to strike. Lock weapons, Dylan said. We're not hiding. We're going to make him regret hunting us. Celine adjusted the shields and weapon systems. It's suicidal. Maybe, Dylan admitted. But I've never been good doing what's easy. The Star Dancer moved forward, engines humming with controlled power. Drax's ship followed, firing warning shots that illuminated the nebula in flashes of deadly light. Dylan twisted the controls, weaving through the gas clouds, using the shifting colors as cover. Every movement was precise, calculated, but the Hunter's ship anticipated almost every move. Prepare for evasive maneuvers, Celine warned. He's closing fast. Dylan's hands moved with instinctual precision. Good, then let's give him something to chase. He led Drax deeper into the nebula, where dense clouds of ionized gas created electrical storms that crackled around the ships. Lasers bounced unpredictably off the charged particles. Drax fired relentlessly, but Dylan used the hazards to his advantage, dodging and spinning in ways no one expected. Then Dylan saw his chance. A massive storm cloud swirled ahead, thick with energy and debris. If he could lure Drax into it, the Hunter's advanced systems would be overloaded by the chaotic interference. Hold on. Dylan said to Celine. "We're going in." Celine's hand hovered over the controls. "You can't be serious." "I'm dead serious," Dylan said, determination hardening his features. "It's the only way to keep the girls safe." He pushed the Star Dancer into the heart of the storm. Lightning arced across the nebula clouds, explosions of color and sound masking the ship's movements. Drax followed, confident in his abilities, and walked straight into Dylan's trap. Inside the storm, the Star Dancer danced through debris and electric arcs. Shields overloaded momentarily, sparks flying across the cockpit. Dylan's fingers flew over every control, rerouting power, firing countermeasures, dodging with mechanical perfection. Celine watched in awe. "I've never seen a human pilot like this," she whispered. Dylan didn't answer. His focus was total. He could feel the bond with Celeste and the other sisters, a current of trust and hope that strengthened him. This wasn't just a fight for survival anymore. It was a fight for family, for lives that depended on him. A massive energy surge hit the Star Dancer, throwing the ship violently. Dylan gritted his teeth. "Now," he shouted. Celine fired every weapon at the pursuing vessel. Explosions rocked Drax's ship, and the hunter struggled to maintain control amid the storm. Dylan maneuvered the Star Dancer through the final arc of the storm, weaving between massive debris. A perfectly timed blast from the Star Dancer's weapons struck Drax's ship's engine core. The Hunter-class vessel shuddered, sparks and smoke erupting across its hull. Drax's voice roared through the comms, furious but unable to retaliate. "This isn't over, human." The Hunter hissed. Then the connection cut. Dylan exhaled, leaning back. He had done it. Against impossible odds, he had protected the sisters. He had outsmarted the galaxy's deadliest hunter dot in the cabin. The girls awoke to the gentle hum of the Star Dancer. Celeste ran to Dylan, throwing her small arms around his waist. "You saved us," she whispered, tears of relief shining in her silver eyes. Linda, Arda, and Nova clung to each other, but also to Dylan, their trust absolute. He held them close, feeling the weight of responsibility lift slightly, replaced with a deep, fulfilling pride. Celine joined them, placing a hand on Dylan's shoulder. "You did it," she said quietly. "They're safe because of you." Dylan smiled, exhaustion mixed with triumph. "No," he corrected softly. "We did it, together." For a long moment, the Star Dancer drifted through the nebula, its silver hull glowing softly. Outside, space was calm again, a peaceful void that belied the chaos that had just passed. Dylan looked at the four sisters, at Celine, and finally out into the stars. He realized something fundamental. Humans might be small in the galaxy, but courage, determination, and heart could tip the scales in ways no alien could expect. The universe had tested him, hunted him, and threatened everything he cared about. And yet, he had stood firm. He had gambled everything and won, because some lives are worth fighting for, and some humans are worth watching. The Star Dancer glided silently through the Veil Nebula, carrying Dylan, Celine, and four fragile but hopeful alien sisters toward a new beginning.